everybody. It's the Rob from Kiss 106 and 103 GBFRocks.com. Alongside my tag team partner in podcasting, please welcome to the show, the Dynamite Kid, Jerry Valeri. Good morning, Jer.
Good morning, pal, and rest in peace to the real Dynamite Kid. That was sad news today, huh? It happened a little bit ago.
Yeah, I just heard about it within the past, hour and a half, 2 hours or so. And yeah, very sad
one half
news
of the original British Bulldogs, but never really. He's got a bad relationship with the WWE, didn't he?
Here's my understanding about Tom Billington, and I'm getting this from his book, which I read and I liked quite a bit. It was around, I think I read that book in 2003. And that was kind of like before there was like a tsunami of wrestling books.
Before everybody had a wrestling book.
Yeah, and it was also like not a WWE book, and it wasn't flattering to the WWE. He came off as very bitter. And not, mostly towards wrestling, but just everything. He seemed to really have no happiness. This is my takeaway. Just in any point of his life.
Well, any interview that I've seen with him on television, any recording, he seemed like he wasn't handling things well later in life. Like he was very bitter and very resentful to a lot of it. And there were just burnt bridges everywhere. And some of them he burnt, and some of them they burnt, and some of them other people burnt, but they were still burnt bridges, and they were all around him.
In the ring, the way I mentioned him on the Post to Post Facebook page, which if you haven't liked it yet, please go like it. It's facebook.com/post to post podcast. I believe that the best way to sum up the Dynamite Kid was that as a performer, he was very ahead of his time. If he were around, in like 2003-ish, 4-ish, 5-ish, like kind of when Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero were the main events and the champions and stuff, I think you would have had a much different career trajectory for Billington. So,
and the more you dig into it, some of the most interesting stuff for me that involves him also involved the Rougeau brothers. Like they had real heat.
Yeah, there's a legendary story of them, I think, in catering, getting into a fight.
Yeah.
And never really getting over it. But that was really Tom's MO, man. Like if you crossed him once, you were dead to him.
It's interesting. The way that I see it, the way that I gather it is, you have that old guard wrestler, we're going to beat your ass for a while before we smarten you up kind of wrestler. Very traditional to even like the 50s and 60s. But he was there when everything was changing. And so he was like old guard guy, but it was also part of the evolution of what pro wrestling was becoming. And he was a tough one to figure out.
Yeah. He was in a weird time in that, like you would hear stories about him, kind of bullying people. And then at the same time, when you bullied him back, you would be dead to him. And also when you talk about things changing, I think one of the things for him was, his road to WWF went through Calgary. And in Calgary, you could be his size and be a main eventer. And then during the cable expansion and the WWF mentality, you needed to be muscle. You needed to look like an action figure to get over.
You needed to be Hulk Hogan's size.
Yeah. And the Dynamite Kid was not that. And so, but that kind of, I don't want to say that changed because it definitely hasn't totally changed, but it kind of, that stigma kind of softened as we got into the 90s and 2000s and stuff, more the 2000s, I suppose.
It did, but it's funny when you think about some of the smaller guys that WWE went with for main eventers outside of Rey Mysterio. If you look at the smaller guys, Bret Hart is a big dude. Shawn Michaels is still a big dude.
Yeah.
Like,
if you go into a bar in your hometown and you run into one of those guys, they're big guys.
They're 6'3" and covered in muscles. You know,
Right.
so they're not 6'7", 300 pounds of muscle, but they're gigantic. They just look little because they're up against big shows and Hulk Hogan.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but they're still like, they're bigger than your average guy. They're just not Sid Justice huge.
Right. No, you're right. So, I mean, I don't have much else to say about him. I respected him a lot as a performer. I wish he would have had a happier time here on Earth. I feel like just the impression I get from him was just never just happy, especially after he left WWF.
Here's the question that the last thing we'll say is my question. Dynamite Kid, WWE Hall of Fame?
Oh, at some point. Yeah.
But, no, well, I'm not saying does he deserve it. I'm saying will they put him in it?
Yes.
Okay.
He's one of those guys that, as rough as this sounds, it will be easier posthumously or whatever.
Because I remember Bruce Pritchard podcast where was asked that question and he said no way.
Well, I think the British Bulldogs as a tag team are worthy of going in, and then at the same time, Davey Boy Smith as a singles is worthy of going in.
He's not in yet, is he?
No.
Yeah, I think Davey Boy Smith will get in before the British Bulldogs get in, I think.
Or maybe they go in as a team. I don't know. But I do feel like, yeah, I think that the British Bulldogs as a tag team, and I consider myself kind of a critic when it comes to the Hall of Fame. But I mean, when you factor in how many go in a year, yeah, I would think they should go in.
Yeah, I mean, they like to put in a tag team and they like to put in dead people. So that two birds with one stone, pal.
The Bushwhackers are in. Oh, boy, I don't think they like to put in dead people. I don't know where that came from.
They always put in one dead guy.
Well, it's wrestling. You kind of have to, but I think they look to put in living people.
I know, but there's always one like notable dead guy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Hashtag wrestling, pal.
Did you watch SmackDown?
I did, and just like I predicted, it was better than Raw. But again, you and I could have put on a show in the backyard, and I think it would have been better than Raw.
Raw was easy to top, and SmackDown did it handedly. It wasn't a killer show, but it wasn't a bad show either. I can cling to a few things that I liked from SmackDown much better than the night before. I feel like we should probably start with the new Daniel Bryan. I mean, I think that's the biggest story to come from last night.
Yeah, and look at him and The Miz working off of each other in a new way.
Yeah. And
brilliantly. I mean, like they boy, those two, like how it's not a surprise. You put those two in the ring together, whether they're working together or against each other, a little bit of both. They're both magnificent. And Daniel Bryan is reeling me in. On this.
I like that because something Mick Foley pointed out, and it really doesn't matter what venue you're looking at, whether you're looking at movies, comics, wrestling, video games, whatever. Villains who are villains just because isn't good writing. When guys have a reason for acting the way that they do, that starts giving you a three-dimensional villain. And that was something that when he was playing Mankind, he said he took very seriously.
I like when the bad guy doesn't know they're bad guys. They
think they're being good guys.
Yeah, well, it's like Thanos in the Marvel movies, in the Infinity Wars. He thinks what he's doing is a noble cause, but he's killing half the universe.
I mean, I haven't seen that movie. I know little about Thanos, but I'll take your word for it.
Sure.
The only real difference is it was a little over the top with how differently he's acting, but I loved the way he explained it in a way that kind of was Daniel Bryan, in a way that kind of made sense. And I like it.
He's coming out in cardigans and he's
acting all hippie-like, and he's being like the social justice warrior. And I liked the fickle chant back at the what crowd. And man, it was just like, it was a whole different Daniel Bryan, and at the same time, very well handled, I thought.
He does a really good job. And to the over the top point, Hashtag wrestling, pal.
That's the thing. And, I just prefer it to be,
yeah, a little more natural.
Easier
I
to
get
swallow,
that.
I guess.
But this is easier for me to swallow than the Yes Movement 2.0 that we were getting shoved down our throats.
And I'll also say to his credit, with the possible exception of his retirement speech in Washington, I can't recall a better Daniel Bryan promo. Maybe like there was that time there was all the crowd came in during the Yes Movement awesome. Thing on Raw. But man, I just can't think of a better Daniel Bryan promo.
It's great. And, you get those three guys in the ring. You get AJ Styles, you get Daniel Bryan, and you get The Miz, who I think those are the three top guys on SmackDown Live. And I know they have good guys. I think SmackDown's roster front to back is better than Raw's at this point.
They're definitely better utilized.
Yeah, for my money, the guys that I enjoy seeing more, those three guys, give them all the time in the world. Having fun with that.
Yeah, no, I thought that, after you factor in Daniel on commentary, I thought they, used them plenty.
But I just wonder how they're going to do, because they're still going to Daniel Bryan and Miz at WrestleMania. I still feel it in my bones. Will they do like a heel versus heel, or is somebody turning back? Or like I'm very interested to see how that plays out.
WrestleMania is a long way away on a wrestling calendar.
I know. Especially the way they've been hot shot and stuff.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be a long way away. It's only 4 months away. But you're right. For wrestling, that could be like 16 different heel turns.
Yeah, there could be you can fit a lot into. And I mean, you never know with injuries and
I mean, between now and Mania, Charlotte Flair might win the belt 8 more times.
You're joking, but you're not.
I'm not really kidding.
I mean, 8 seems like a lot even for them, but yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah, I know. I do think they're going to keep it on Becky Lynch for a while.
Well,
revealing
and I think that, with all the women's wrestling they gave us on Monday and this week together, you could see a world of difference with the female talent on SmackDown, or at least the big three, Asuka, Charlotte, and Becky. When you compare it to what's happening on Raw, it's night and day, if you ask me.
And I'm glad Asuka's in there reminding people that she can be a main eventer. She is very good. And Paige is in there reminding everybody that she's not. So
she was part of that awkward era of transitioning from the pretty girls to the girls who can work.
And because I was so harsh in the very beginning of this one, I will say I still don't think she's great, but Sonya Deville is stepping up a little bit and coming along. I'll give her a coming along.
Yeah. And then what was
but Becky Lynch is the man. Becky Lynch is I mean, the posties are very difficult this year, and Becky Lynch made it so. And that's all I'll say with the way that I'm looking at stuff.
Sure. I think I know exactly what you're talking about too. But yeah, we've got the posties, I believe, coming up tomorrow, hopefully.
Tomorrow, posties, baby. Yeah. Get dressed up.
I hope I loved your intro music last year. I don't know if you're going to use the same song or maybe sit down and pen something different, but if you want to make a theme song or perform one, I'm totally for that.
Who knows, pal? I mean, every good award show needs to have an open. So
God, the line about did you die? Like, were you in feud of the year or did you die? Whatever it was just like, it was so perfect.
It's so good.
So yes, please, if you want to go ahead and do that, it wouldn't bother me at all.
Okie doke.
What else? Let's see. I've got the run sheet open. Let's see here.
Well, that opened the show. The girls opened the show, and they did a good job of it, I thought.
We've got AJ Styles went over The Miz.
Sure. Yeah. What do you think of the Cesaro, Xavier Woods, Jey Uso? I mean, the one thing for sure on both shows, they don't know what the hell to do with the tag teams.
Yeah, that does seem like a theme right now. It's also interesting coming into the post. He's like, you have to think of like who was the biggest tag team this year. That's not easy, I don't think.
No, sir.
Oh, it's worth mentioning that the finish of the opening contest, it was Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville versus Charlotte and Asuka. Did not expect to see Mandy and Sonya win that one.
Yeah, it was a good placement. It helps them, and it doesn't hurt the other two. So,
yeah, but that's kind of the way I took it. It was an interesting finish I didn't expect. And then I feel like the only match we haven't really covered, even really segment that we didn't cover, is, man, for like the millionth time this year, Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton.
And that's why we didn't cover it, because we've already covered it on like 12 different shows.
Yeah, it's happening quite a bit.
I don't know why they're still doing those two. Like, especially after the Hell in the Cell, that was the end of it. You destroyed Jeff Hardy. That was it. Why is Jeff Hardy not out here with Samoa Joe?
Can't answer that one. Oh, well, hold on. That was awesome. You just remember what Joe did? I forgot about that.
Did the PSA.
That was awesome. I'm digging Joe and Jeff. Yeah, this is going somewhere. I'm glad you mentioned that because I forgot all about this.
I just didn't need to. It was kind of like having Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler. Like, you can still get to where you're headed without giving us the same match over and over and over again.
Yeah. I liked. I kind of like when they start getting uncomfortable with the real life stuff, like the drugs, or like I remember when I think was it Chris Jericho and CM Punk with with the booze. Yeah, like that kind of stuff gets me feeling a way.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for Joe to bring up the TNA pay-per-view. Like, I'm wondering if they'll go as far as to bring that one up.
I don't know, but it's cool. I like the execution of it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is everything on SmackDown did me better than anything on Raw.
Yeah. I mean, Raw was Raw. It just.
And it's 3 hours and it's so long, and SmackDown's 2 and it feels so tight.
And it feels tight. And Raw would be tight too, I think. Raw would be, but you'd be cutting out, but you wouldn't get Natalya getting put to a table by the Riot Squad.
That's why it needs to be 2 hours, pal.
You wouldn't get the Mexican New Day taking on the Revival. By the way, I don't see a lot of news because I don't seek it out. But I did see that the Revival keep tweeting back and forth with the Young Bucks. And it seems like I keep hearing a lot about, Cody starting a new and Chris Jericho and JR starting this new wrestling promotion, and the Jacksonville Jaguars owner being involved. And I could see a lot of underutilized talent in the WWE leaving. I don't know. I've watched TNA try to overcome for years, and they had a really good roster and couldn't do it. So who knows?
Yeah, I think at this point, I think that the WWE being taken over as the dominant wrestling brand is about as likely as another football league taking over the NFL as the dominant football brand. Yeah,
I don't even want someone to take them over. And it doesn't even have to get to the high stakes that it was during the Monday Night Wars, which was unbelievable. So fun to be a part of. Yeah. Glad I got to live through it, but it'll never happen again. I would just like to see somebody pushing them a little bit. Because then maybe if they're getting pushed a little, do you know when the WWE didn't take a rest between Survivor Series and January 1st?
I mean, I haven't sat and thought about it.
They didn't take breaks.
I would say it's traditionally the low point. I mean, almost always.
But it wasn't in the mid-90s when they were fighting for their lives. Yeah. Competition breeds improvement. And so I'd like to see a little bit of that.
That'd be great, but it's not going to happen.
I'm salty because I'm sick of Raw sucking. That's 3 hours of my week. Every week. Well,
I mean, it hasn't been all year. It's just been, since Survivor Series.
I'm telling you, this past Raw felt like all year.
Oh my God, it was rough.
It was rough. Pal, it was rough.
All right, everybody. Anything else you want to mention, Jer?
Looking forward to the posties.
Posties are coming up. Tomorrow should be the day. We are excited to bring you the annual tradition that I believe started during the Steve years of the posties. And we're going to continue that with some 13 big categories tomorrow right here on Post to Post. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow for the posties.